Good morning. Hey, we're live. It is. Excuse me. Just did the marker. Oh, we're live, and I can't talk. It's terrible. It's about 5:35 a.m. This is our 438th show on the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show, and I think I'm getting it back. I hope, knock on wood. I am Greg Mester, Scrum Master and Agile Coach. And here we talk about Scrum and Agile in a practical and tactical way, and bringing value to the customer without working 60, 80 hours a week, and getting home to family and friends and having some fun and work and at home. So we have time to do that. And that's what we talk about. Different things, different thoughts, different adventures along the way. People sending comments and questions too on different things and what's out there, right? And I got two topics today. I shared the little triangle. I call it the work triangle. I came up with that the other day because someone was annoying me. And but also, I had a question from I was talking to a Scrum Master the other day, and I was trying to coach them or mentor them into a different path. Maybe I was, trying to get them going a different path, but I knew what they wanted. But it was interesting. One of the things is like their job is just to escalate issues. And I thought about it. I said, but is it really? Because I was just really asking questions whether or not if that's the job. Is a job as Scrum Master just to escalate issues? So, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then I want to talk about the work triangle. I want to talk about the dangers of the work triangle, where Agile Accountants, auditors out there in the world, or managers want to raise information from the most bottom. You can talk about micromanaging. I saw a YouTube video on the pain of micromanaging. Yeah, micromanaging. So whenever you have a triangle and the managers want to know what's going on in the lowest level of the teams, and maybe even the individual, then that's major micromanagement. I call it the work triangle. And I'm just going to give an example of that with fields and stuff in your system that you might be using to manage your Scrum teams. So let's first talk about the Scrum Master idea of is it just my job as Scrum Master to escalate issues? And that's what the arrow is about in the picture. And my question was, is it really just the job of the Scrum Master to escalate issues? Why can't a Scrum Master solve the issues? And we had an issue with another group, and it was higher management, and I know, but I was just seeing where they would go with this, right? How far? And I have a lot of respect and potential for the Scrum Master. The person's really good at what they do, very out there and on top of their game to a point, and just where they can go. And their team's having problems. It's a high level thing. It's a couple organizations across. And this is the mentoring side of me, right? Because I've been doing this for so long. I'm always trying to get people to say, hey, do you want to try something? I'll back you and back them and everything. And I'll set it up. I just need someone to help me out and do it. So why did I say that? Because the Scrum Master, if you take like the IC Agile, the ATF, the team, Agile team facilitation, right? Take the facilitation class, or you take a class. You learn about facilitation. Over time, you take so many classes to keep fresh. And my thing is, well, you have the skills, right? Because you're a Scrum Master and you help the team communicate and get going and moving into directions and getting the work done. Why can't you take those skills and take a bunch of managers and help facilitate a discussion to solve a problem there, or do some root cause analysis? I'm like, do you understand? Maybe they didn't done it. Maybe they haven't done a root cause analysis before. And that's something that I can help coach on from a technical perspective and show them how to do that. Because it's always good to have a root cause analysis skill, and taking a class on it and how to do the Wishikari diagram or the fishbone diagram. And doing do the 5 whys, find out what's going on, is a good skill to have no matter who you are, Whether you're a developer, a Scrum Master, manager, project manager, it doesn't matter. So my challenge was, well, why don't you solve the problem? Or why don't you help coordinate and facilitate the solving of the problem? Rather than just, and it was a debate, person kept coming back and said, well, my job is just to escalate the problem. Well, managers don't necessarily like just escalating a problem. They like solutions. They like, oh, I like the solution. Sometimes they don't figure that stuff out. Sometimes you can offer to help come up with the solution or lead or coordinate or facilitate the creation of the solution. I don't know. I work with PhDs and know things that I'll never know, but I can help facilitate them in getting into a solution, right? That's where I bring my coaching skills in. That's where I brought my project. That's where I brought my other skills into gear, where I had people from different organizations. I brought them in a room, and they would come up with how they wanted to solve a problem, and then we would solve the problem. That's where I made my chops. But I thought it was interesting, that debate. Is a Scrum Master's only job is to escalate or raise up problems or blockers to other managers? You can. I mean, I guess that could be where you go, right? I just bring up issues. Now I got a cat crying up there, great. And that's where they would go. So that is one of the things, is just bring up. Let me know. Do you think a Scrum Master's job is just to escalate the issues and not necessarily solve? Now, I want to make a very clear difference here. The Scrum Master job is not to solve the issues. You're not the solution person. You're not the person that's supposed to come up with the answers because you know something technical. That's your team's job. That's the people's job. Your job is to help facilitate them to come up with that solution, but it's never the Scrum Master's job to actually solve the problem. Though in some places they expect that, because I've been watching some places where now they're taking Scrum Masters and said, well, you need to be technical. Well, why does a Scrum Master need to be? I mean, Scrum Masters should understand what's going on around them, but they should not. I don't necessarily think they need to be the technical solution person, because then we're getting back to the old school where you're the technical lead and you're telling everybody what to do, and that didn't work very well. We wouldn't be where we were from a technology standpoint if we followed that everywhere. So that was the first thing I want. Now the second little geeky thing here. I've had organizations where I come in and their Jira or their what was it we were using? I don't know. I think we were using Azure or version 1 was a total mess. It was a catastrophe. You know why? Because they let the auditors take over, right? They let these geeky people lay out all these flows and all these things and all these detailed requirements and gates and this and that. And when they do all that, oh my God. The auditors, well, you say you do this, that, and that, and then you got to measure that, right? I'm like, don't do it, right? But here's what I call the work triangle. So you have auditors and managers up top that have reporting that they want to do. Though I really asked the question, how much does that reporting really bring value to the customer? Pretty much nothing. Doesn't really do anything. There's no value in all the reporting. Shh, don't tell anybody. But it keeps them employed and makes them feel good. Okay, so what they try to do in order to report out up here at the top of the pyramid, like the auditors, there's Agile Accountants, who apparently I love because they do Fortune Cookie Fridays, right? So you got your Agile Accountants. Agile Accountants up here at the top. Right? They're up here. And managers, right? And then you got the teams way down here. Teams are at the very bottom of the triangle. Now, if you lay out your structure, there's usually like a project level, right? It's project level. Then we got the epic level. Then we got the story level. And then below that would be tasks. God, I hope your organization doesn't go down to the task level and try to measure them, from here all the way up there Because if they do, you're screwed. Yeah, you're screwed. Okay. Because think about it. Let's say epics. I'm just going to come up with a number, and I'm going to use my phone because I'm going to have to do some math here in a second. And I'm going with this on the fly. I just want to represent this to you live and in person as we do this. Let's say for every epic, I've seen on average between 4 and 10 stories per epic. So I'm going to go on the high side just to make it more crazy. So I'm going to say there's 10 stories per epic. So every one epic, I got 10 stories, okay? Now what happens is these people up here want to know what's going on down here. However, where things can manage, you can do it at the epic level. So from a touch perspective of what you're working on, right? Every time you want something that you can get at the epic level, but then they push it down to the story level, it's 10 more clicks, 10 more pieces of information to add in, 10 times the administrative burden on the teams because you got to do it for every story, right? So what you got to watch out for is these people who we want to know exactly what you're doing, and we want to know and what gets my kicker. Stories should be done in a day or two. You shouldn't care what people spend on a day or two. You're more at the epic level. Like, what are the value of the product being delivered and up there? But worrying about stuff at the story level, it just doesn't. It's just such a waste of time. I had one person the other day asking about funding or something was funded or base funded. And I said, well, he was talking about up here at the project level, how it's funded. I said, well, you already told us to write down how it's funded at the epic level. Now you want to do it at the base level, right? I said, well, why am I measuring it in two places? So now you want to write it here at that, and maybe there's for every project there's like 10 epics, right? So there's 10 epics. So what is that for every 10? So there's like 100 stories. That's pretty light. That's really light. So from a project level, there's 10 epics. For 10 epics, there's 100 stories, right? So, I mean, it's just like crazy, right? So every time you wanted to know about something about a project, right? But we need to classify that also at the epic level. I try to argue with them. A lot of the projects get funded in multiple ways. And there's drug deals that are given up between managers and different things in business. And I made the argument, was kind of interesting. There's crickets over the phone. I said, there's some organizations that will take some of their own internal money to help fund a business initiative because there's value for the customer. They know how it is, and maybe the business, it's like, I only got 80% of the funding, but I think this can get us a lot of money. We just don't have it. And they work out a deal with a one of the lower level organizations to fund the other 20%. So it's not all project funding, but it's also operationally funded sometimes. And that happens it's been happening for years. I have so many projects that I have managed that I would piecemeal money from different organizations to make it happen. And so these people, these blinders, like, oh, it's just one funding outfit, so you can make it happen. But anyway, so he's just like, that's like, you don't know what you're doing. But that tells you there's people that never have done this stuff before that think, oh, it's all one project, one funding line. You don't use anybody else's money, and this is the way it goes. I said that doesn't exist on the planet Earth, right? And I just find it funny. But anyway, so the triangle. You have to be careful of Agile accountants and managers up top wanting to see something that's all the way down to the bottom, because what can be really measured at a higher level structure and your breakdowns of your stories can answer that. But every time you go to a new level, it's like 10 times as much administrative work. So if you can track it at the project level, it's one entry. Then we go down to Epic. Now we want all the epics to do it. So that's 10x the amount of admin stuff, right? Then if you decide, no, I don't want to go to Epic, I really want to go all the way down to story level, that's 100 times, right? what you should be collecting up here, now you're causing 100 times more administrative overhead for what you're doing. God forbid we actually did the tasks. That's like another 5, 6, right? Another 5, 6 tasks for each story. So that would be like 600. Because they're going, I want to know how many hours you actually work on your stuff. You got to go all the way down to task level to find the hours. So you're talking 600 times. 600 times the amount of administrative burden because somebody up here wants to know how many hours you're spending on a stupid task. And like they're gonna really do something revolutionary to increase the value of the corporation because they went and nitpicked something and made one little adjustment. No, it ain't gonna happen. Anyway, and I coach organizations on not doing that. I'd rather have 10 teams that are super efficient and just blowing the doors off the water than figure out some little way of managing where the money's spent on some things. But so be it, right? But I do go in there, like I had told a story a while ago. I guess I'm just telling stories now. I'm rambling. And it's 16 minutes. It's past our 15-minute mark. Though I have gone to companies where the one company had all these fields. I said, you got too many fields. And they all agreed. They had, because of auditors and the way they wanted to report stuff over the years, they added about 50 fields. Nobody was looking at those fields anymore. And nobody was entering the data in there. So there was this clutter in the system that didn't need to be there. We wiped out all but like 2 or 4 fields out of 50 because they weren't there. Because the auditors came in and said they wanted to measure stuff. Just saying. Anyway, it is Saturday. Ring the little bell. We are going to do the Mentos thing today. So I am going to put that up with Eddie. And we'll have some fun. All right. Enjoy your weekend. See you tomorrow, Sunday. Have a great day. Give us a thumbs up, and you all take care. Bye. See ya.